Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It is Mindy here, and I hope you're off to the start of a fantastic week and you're smelling amazing while you're doing it. Today, I wanted to talk about some samples that I'm really enjoying over the past couple of weeks. Like many of you, I've blind bought so many fragrances through the pandemic, and while a lot of them worked out perfectly, not all of them did, and some of them were blind buy fails, of course. And so I've been trying to get more strategic in my fragrance buying and focus on samples, especially when it comes to niche fragrances, more expensive designer fragrances. I'm trying to try them before I buy them so that I don't go completely broke and pull everything I have out of my 401k and take out a second mortgage on my house. I mean, really, it can get expensive, this fragrance hobby we have. And so I've been playing around with a ton of samples here, really just having a great time, a blast exploring these. Most of my larger decants like these from FragranceNet are stored elsewhere. I have a couple in here. Most of these are 2 ml, 3 ml decants, and just so much fun. And this smells exquisite, by the way. If we combined all these fragrances together and came up with one, it'd be amazing. So without further ado, let's dive into the fragrances that I would like to talk about today. First up is Chanel Beige. And this one is very much carrying that Chanel DNA that a lot of us are familiar with, but it takes a different direction than some of those I have in my collection at this point. What I think of here is, how Guerlain has sort of this Guerlainade fragrance profile, and Mugler tends to have the bold character in their fragrances. I get some boldness, and this is reminiscent to other Chanels, but it does not smell like any other Chanel that I'm familiar with. You can just tell that it is a Chanel. So with Chanel Beige, I feel like it's a little bit more of a casual fragrance. When I think about Coco Mademoiselle, The Intense, and Chanel Chance in my collection, those tend to be what I think of as maybe power scents, where they make you feel like a very put together woman. Even if you're not, which I'm not, even if you don't feel like you're put together that day, a Chanel in that line will make you feel that way. And this one is really nice, and I definitely think it can get you in that mindset. But for me, it feels a little bit more casual. So there's Frangipani, Honey, Freesia, and Hawthorn in here. And this actually takes me back to my childhood, a figurine, a toy that I had that had a scent to it, and it feels a little bit nostalgic. It dries down to sort of a soapy scent where that honey is present. There's sort of this beautiful sweetness here, and I like how Freesia plays in this fragrance as well. In the background, I feel like I'm getting just a slight tropical vibe, but it's not overpowering. This is not what I would consider to be a typical beach fragrance, but this one is really nice. I agree with the people who say that this makes them feel cheerful, uplifted, happy. I can definitely see that from this fragrance. Chanel Beige doesn't really fall into the typical type of fragrance that I wear. I do like it, but it's not a love at this point. So I'm going to continue to play with this one over the next few weeks and determine if it's full bottle worthy for me. But nevertheless, I would really enjoy smelling this fragrance on someone else. It would be very nice. The sillage would be beautiful, and I think a lot of people would enjoy this fragrance a lot. Again, that is Beige by Chanel. All right, the next fragrance that I wanted to talk about today, and just pulling the lid off, I got a whiff of it, and it's just incredible. This is Angel Share by Kilian. And what had me curious about this fragrance specifically was the mix of cognac with the warm notes that I already love, vanilla, praline, tonka bean, and sandalwood. And this one did not disappoint. Now, it has a heavy sweetness to it that maybe some people wouldn't really enjoy or appreciate, but I love it. I'm getting a boozy woodiness here, and I find it to be so intoxicating. Smells great on the strip, but it smells amazing on skin. Once it dries down, it is so sweet. The cinnamon comes out, and this is a delicious fragrance. When I was smelling this on my skin, I was playing around with it and just closing my eyes, taking it all in because I enjoy it that much. I almost envisioned when I had heard about, Ragba, I had envisioned that this is what Ragba might smell like, whereas Ragba is very deep, it's very woody, and maybe a little too intense for my nose to take. I think it smells lovely, but it is heavy for me. Angel's Share tends to be a better mix, a more blended composition of other notes that kind of take that wittiness, but add it to the vanilla, the praline, the cognac, the cinnamon to make it smell just incredible. I find this to be much more wearable, much more likable than Ragba. And I know this is a great fragrance, but to my nose, Angel's Share is sort of what I was hoping this would be. I love it. This is one that I think smells amazing. It'd be lovely on a cold winter's day. Even when the fall months start to roll around, this is one that I might reach for. It's a little heavy, a little sweet for the summer months. So this is one I'm gonna revisit when those cooler months come back around. My first exposure to those sort of boozy liquor type fragrances was Spirituis Double Vanille. I love that one. And this is no different. It is boozy and it's done so well. I think the addition of liquor in a fragrance like this smells so lovely. I like it. I know not everyone does, but I think this is fantastic. One that is full bottle worthy. That is Angel's Share by Kilian. Next up is a fragrance that I've been wanting to get my nose on for a really long time, and that is The Only One Intense by Dolce&Gabbana. Now, I've mentioned before that I tend to have white florals be a hit or miss for me, and I'm on a mission to find my white floral, the one I love the most. So I've been playing a little bit with 100 Silent Ways by Nishane. I've been playing with Florence by Toka. I've looked at Rouge Malachite and a couple other fragrances that I'm interested in. But this one is just lovely. The composition of this fragrance is just beautiful. I get the vanillic sweetness in here. There is jasmine, there's coconut, there's orange blossom, and then that's balanced out by the vanilla, cashmere wood, which is a synthetic musky woody note, and there's cedar in the base. This just comes together so nicely. I enjoy this fragrance so much. This is definitely one that I have on my radar as a buy in the next couple of months, one I'd love to have in my collection. What I really like about this fragrance is that it has a warmth, a coziness, an allure to it, and like other white florals that I've smelled, this one definitely has a seductive quality to it as well. Like I mentioned before, if you like white florals, if you like sweetness, I think this will be a fairly safe blind buy for you. This is one that I will be adding to my collection over the next few months, one that I'm really excited to be playing with. For good reason. This is a hyped up white floral, one that a lot of people speak highly of. Again, that is The Only One Intense by Dolce&Gabbana. Okay, over the course of 430 days, I have been into a Nordstrom and Sephora just a couple times. And so yesterday felt like an incredible luxury to walk into Nordstrom and play with a few fragrances. One of the fragrances that I tried yesterday is Lost Cherry by Tom Ford, and I sprayed it on my skin and wore it the entire day. I got a blast of cherry at first, but it warmed into the skin so beautifully. There was a liquor note that came out, and I found it to be warm and boozy, and another one that is delicious on the skin. I felt myself really intoxicated by Tom Ford Lost Cherry, and I got some opinions from people around me who also said that it was a lovely scent. This is another one that I find to be quite seductive, but a beautiful gourmand. I love how the liquor notes play with the cherry. There's tonka bean, vanilla, Peru balsam, and cinnamon, benzoin. Just a beautiful composition of notes. There was a moment where the impulsive side of me really wanted to just buy this fragrance, but the problem with Tom Ford fragrances, and this one specifically, is that that price point is not accessible. It is so high that I would feel a lot of mom guilt if I didn't put the money in a 529 college fund versus a perfume, and I just wasn't willing to make that purchase. So with that in mind, I came home and realized that I did have an Alexandria Fragrances dupe of Lost Cherry by Tom Ford. I hadn't played with it before. It came as a sample in one of the other Alexandria fragrances that I purchased. And I've spoken about this before, that I do think that Alexandria Fragrances is a great clone house. So I was curious about this one, and I want to give you my thoughts on Fructus Virginis by Alexandria Fragrances. I roll my eyes because I'm not crazy about the name. Maisie Fragrances spoke about this, talking about the Dua clone of Lost Cherry by Tom Ford. The naming convention kind of sucks. I hate the nomenclature here. I really wish they'd call us first and come up with a name that might be considered more appropriate or crowd-pleasing, but it is what it is, and I'll share my thoughts on Fructus Virginis right now. All right, guys, I'm gonna spray it here. And I'm gonna share my thoughts on this clone of Lost Cherry. So one thing I'll mention is that I did wear this on my hand before I went to bed last night. I was super curious how it wears on the skin, how it compares to the Tom Ford version, and what it smells like. And just like Tom Ford, you get sort of a burst of cherry there at the beginning, but that warms into the skin to sort of a nutty, woody, sweet fragrance with cherry in the background. Again, here you pick up that liqueur as well, and to me it smells beautiful. I think this is a well done dupe of Tom Ford Lost Cherry. Still smelled beautiful in the morning when I woke up. It was present, and I did see that some people suggested that performance on the Alexandria Fragrances version is much better than the Tom Ford Lost Cherry original version. I need to play with this one just a little bit more, but my gut is telling me that this is an acceptable dupe. It's a great fragrance, one that I'd enjoy wearing. It looks like a lot of people rated this to be a feminine fragrance on Fragrantica. And while I see that, maybe that's that cherry aspect of it, I do think a man could easily rock this fragrance. There is sort of that boozy aspect. There's vetiver, there's sandalwood, there's tonka bean, and there's notes in here that I do think would smell amazing on a man as well. So I wouldn't let that deter you if you're a man and you're interested in exploring this fragrance. I'm a fan of Alexandria Fragrances dupes. I have quite a few in my collection, and I've really enjoyed a lot of them. I think they're generally well done. Most of the time they smell very similar to the fragrance they're imitating, and they're just really nice and affordable, accessible for people who don't want to pay that higher niche or high designer price point. So something to consider. I am curious from you guys, first of all, if you have Tom Ford Lost Cherry, were you able to get it at a discount? Were you able to get a good price on it? And second, what other dupes or clones have you tried of Lost Cherry? Do you like them? How do you like them? What's your favorite? Please let me know, because yeah, I love this fragrance profile. It's one that I definitely want to add to my collection, and I'm curious if I do the Alexandria Fragrances or the Dua version. If there's another one you guys really like, please let me know. Definitely want to hear your thoughts on that. All right, guys, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching this video on fragrances that I'm exploring, some that I'm really enjoying, and a few that I plan on bringing into my collection in the near term. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. I'm really enjoying engaging with you guys. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and until next time, I'll see you soon.